What I'm about to tell you is something that has no explanation. It's the strangest thing that has ever happened to me or anyone I personally know. I work late hours at a dive bar about 30 minutes from my house. It's not really by choice. It's just how things are when you live out in a more rural area. There is not a ton of jobs close to home, so you take what you can get. The bar itself isn't anything special, but it's steady work, and most nights are pretty uneventful. The night this all happened was no different. My shift had gone by without much happening, and after closing everything up, I got in my car and started to drive home. Most of the way back is nothing but a series of winding back roads. Hardly any traffic, barely any lights, barely any cars, barely anything, honestly. Just long stretches of curves cutting through woods and farmland. It's usually a pretty quiet drive, and honestly, I've always kind of liked it for that reason. Like a built-in detox where I have time to zone out or think about characters I met at the bar and interesting conversations I may have had with them. Not long into the drive, I remember thinking to myself how unusually foggy it was. I've driven those roads more times than I can count, but that night, visibility was worse than I'd seen in a while. I actually had to ease off the gas and take it slower because I could barely see more than a few car lengths ahead. Even flipping on my brights didn't help. It just made the fog glow and reflect back at me, almost like I was driving into a wall of white. It started pissing me off because I knew it would only add time to my trip, and I was exhausted. I was about halfway home when I noticed it. Through the fog, maybe a little off to the right side of the road, there was this faint yellow blinking light. At first, I figured it was just some kind of roadside marker or maybe a reflector, but as I kept driving, it didn't really get any closer or farther away. It just stayed there, blinking at a steady rhythm, like it was moving right along with me, keeping pace from somewhere deeper in the fog. The whole thing felt a little off. I couldn't tell how far away it actually was. It was like the fog was playing tricks on my depth perception. After about another minute of driving with that blinking light hovering in the exact same place, I started getting this weird feeling in my stomach. I couldn't even explain it to you. Something about it just didn't sit right with me. I decided to slow down a bit, thinking maybe if I let off the gas, the light would keep going and I'd get a better sense of what it actually was, or it would just continue onwards and disappear entirely, and I wouldn't have to deal with it anymore. But as I eased down to almost a crawl, the light didn't change at all. It kept blinking at the same steady rhythm, still holding that same distance off to the side, like whatever it was that somehow matched my speed perfectly. That's when I really started to get spooked. I finally came to a full stop, just to see if it would do the same, and sure enough, it stayed right there, blinking in the exact same spot with the same rhythm. I sat there for a second, trying to figure out what the hell I was looking at, and debating whether I should just turn around or keep going. That's when it changed. The blinking didn't stop, but the light itself started getting brighter, like a small flame catching a sudden gust of wind and flaring up. It wasn't flashing faster, it was burning stronger with each pulse, like whatever it was had suddenly gotten more active. That was enough for me. I wasn't about to sit there and wait for whatever that was to get any closer or weirder. I reached down to shift into reverse so I could back up and turn around, but I realized the engine wasn't running. I swear to God, it was dead silent. I had no idea how that was even possible. The only way to kill the engine would have been touching the key, but I distinctly remember never doing that. Why the hell would I do that? At that point, my hands were shaking, and my hands never shake. I pour drinks all day, my hands can't shake. As I was desperately trying to start the car, I couldn't help but think that this thing outside my car had something to do with my engine, which of course wouldn't start. I tried the ignition again and again. The engine was completely dead. Meanwhile, that blinking yellow light kept burning brighter and brighter and brighter, almost like it was feeding off something. My pulse was racing at that point. I had no idea what the hell was going on, and there was no one around for miles. Not knowing what else to do, I reached for my phone, figuring maybe I could at least get some video of it or call for help. But as soon as I tapped the screen, nothing happened. Completely black, my phone had died. I knew for a fact I still had at least 20%. I had literally checked it back at the bar before I closed up, but now it was as dead as the engine. Before I could do anything else, the light suddenly flared to a blinding brightness, like an exploding star. I physically couldn't keep my eyes open. That's how bright it was. I threw my arms up in front of me and kept my eyes shut for 10 seconds at least. feeling the blaze of what was now a gigantic light bulb. And then, just like that, it was gone, like it had never been there in the first place. The fog was still thick, but there was nothing out there anymore. My heart was still pounding, but I instinctively reached for the ignition one more time, and this time, the engine turned over like normal. I didn't waste another second. I drove the rest of the way home with my eyes glued to the road, as if looking away for even a second would bring that awful light back. But nothing else happened that night. Nothing ever happened again, actually. I've told this story to just about everyone I know, my family, friends, even a couple regulars at the bar. But no one's had an explanation that sits right with me. And trust me, I've heard every theory you could think of.